All right, welcome back on in to Bitcoin and Tech Wealth Edge. I'm your host at Hodler Ranch. Thank you so much for joining today. Today we're going to be looking at the weekly recap on all the Bitcoin Treasury companies. We're going to be looking to see who bought, looking to see if any new announcements were made, and any data that stands out, because we're always looking for value in these companies. And I know the mood has been sour recently, particularly on X with these companies. But I'm here for the long game, and I would encourage you to do the same thing. So let's kind of just level set, jump in, and talk about what's going on in the world of Bitcoin Treasury companies. So again, I like this graph to start off with because it just shows you just how massive strategy is. And yes, they did buy another 3,000 plus Bitcoin this week. They did tap the ATM again, and the market seems to be liking that as strategy. MSTR is not falling in comparison to IBIT like it had been. So good signs there that strategy's back and buying. I know Michael Saylor couldn't help himself from getting back out there and buying more. And again, the moat that they have is incredible. This visual says it all. All these other companies, make up just a fraction of what MicroStrategy or strategy is holding. So let's jump into updated Bitcoin holdings. So we're going to come over here to column L. So here's our updated list. And you can see again the oranger, the better, the bigger the bag, the bigger the holding. The stack is 632, 457 now for strategy, dwarfing everyone else as we mentioned earlier. Mara here. Let's see who else bought this week. I know that we had Nakamoto last week buy. That was a big one. We had Capital B Blockchain Group buy. We had Metaplanet buy. They're now at 18,991 and a BTC yield this year of 479. So that increased week over week. Great to see. Always good things from Metaplanet. And that stock has been beaten up, and the mNAV has come down quite a bit, and we'll talk about that here when we talk about mNAVs here in a moment. But as far as who bought this week, we had another one I like is I added, again, I try to focus on companies that have at least 1,000 Bitcoin. But if they're coming out strong and they have a plan and they're communicating and they're transparent, and it seems to me like, 1,000 is just a number that they're going to surpass here shortly, I want them to be on the radar. I don't want to miss out, because there's a lot of companies out there that have like 10 and they buy one and whatnot, and that's all nice and it's a good story. But when I'm looking for value, I'm looking for certain data points, and the one that sticks out to me is DDC Enterprise, the Day Cook out of Asia. She liked my response yesterday on Twitter when I said that this is like the fastest moving, most overlooked relative to their size Bitcoin Treasury company in the market right now. So if you're just looking at the 888 held, it doesn't look. It's not an impressive, like obviously like a strategy or even a Metaplanet or any of those. But you got to just know a little bit more to the story. Peel back the layers a bit. This company, as of May of this year, so just 3-4 months ago, did not own any Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and so they've had now 4 quick, regular cadence of announcements of buys, and this last buy this past week is what made me put them on here now, because they bought 200, which is huge. When you're going from 600 to 2, and you're adding basically a 30% overnight, like that is fantastic. So they are all over my radar. I like what they're doing. I just thought I would call them out in a good way on here. We also had Remix Point buy this week as well. They're now up to 1273. And you gotta assume that some of these miners, one of the nice things you can do with this chart is you can actually come in here and sort by industry. So if we do that real quick, we can just kind of have all the miners grouped together, which I think is useful. The share or the Bitcoin held for these miners, right now, Mara and CleanSpark are averaging over 20 Bitcoin mined per day for the month of August. So and they're over 500. So like if they could get to somewhere around that 600 number for the month of August, and you figure they're going to probably sell some for operations and whatnot, but certainly not all. And so if they mine 600 and are able to keep even half, and hopefully more, that would put, Mara at almost 51,000. That would take CleanSpark to over 13,000. So again, just because it's not updated here, I don't have the day-to-day on what they're doing in the operations, but just based on being on their calls regularly and knowing their game plan and knowing that they want to continue to add to the treasury, I feel good about those numbers being higher, in other words, than they are even showing on here. Okay, so let's look at a couple other metrics here. How can we not do, this is a new one that I added. This gives us our percent owned over 21 million. So again, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, and probably 3 of that or more, 3 million's lost. A lot of the other coins are locked away. So, but just to take in the entire, if there were the 21 million available, the maximum there could be, and we haven't even mined the last 1.2 million or whatever, but again, over the entire amount of Bitcoin that will ever exist in history, Strategy has now crossed the 3% threshold. I mean, how amazing is that? And again, the graph, the picture shows something. The number also shows here clearly, Mara's in second place at not even 1/4% of the entire Bitcoin supply. So what Strategy's doing is just on another level that no one's ever has seen before. So shout out to them, sticking with them. They're still my ride or die, along with Semler. Tell you a couple other ones I like, and this is because they're overlooked with their mNAVs. If you were to come in and look at the mNAVs, and I'm now sorting it by mNAV, right? So if we come here and we look at this, right away, there's some things that stick out. You have 4 companies that I've got in bold here and in orange that are actually trading at a discount to the Bitcoin that they hold on their balance sheet. So you have Strategy trading at a premium, like at 1.63 times the amount of Bitcoin that they hold, the value of that Bitcoin. But you have companies that are trading at less than the Bitcoin they're holding. So they're holding all this Bitcoin, and just to show you what they're holding, it's different for each of these companies, but here's the Bitcoin held in column L. Bitcoin Standard Treasury being a new SPAC. I won't really get into that one this time. We'll break that down in another video. But for these top 3, Empery Digital, Saquon's, and Semler Scientific, all 3 of these have underlying businesses. All 3 have a CEO that's very involved, and all 3 are working closely with people in the Bitcoin community to make sure that the communication gets out there on these things, to explain, like Saquon's call last Thursday with their CEO, and Ben Workman was on there, was a very valuable call. Ben talked about the leverage of the 189 million in convertible bonds out of the total 384 million raised, answered good questions there. Talked about the fact, most importantly, that Saquon's did not have an ATM in place, and an ATM is just at the market. That means you get an agreement out there, you file it with the SEC saying, hey, we're going to be able to sell X amount of shares. So they now have an agreement to do that in place. That's a tool in the toolkit that's necessary. And they also have the foresight and the wisdom to not hit the ATM, to not sell into this unfavorable condition market right now. So now's not a good time to be doing that. But when that time comes around, you don't want to be scrambling to get that approved to be able to do it. So they've got it locked in place, ready to go. All right, so we're going to have to deal with the fact that the mNAV's low here for them. But I see this as an incredible opportunity, especially when you have two of these three companies with a fully transparent dashboard. And Saquon's they're being transparent. They don't have all the details I'd like to see with outstanding share count and everything on the dashboard. However, as I mentioned, they are sharing quite a bit on their Spaces call on X. So again, they're not hiding from anything. Saquon's is one of my largest holdings now because of the transparency, because I see what's happening. I see all those early pipe shareholders that got out, and it takes a while to flush that through the system. There's a lot of shares there, probably a couple 100 million. And once that runs through, eventually now you're going to have it in hands that are going to be stronger and have it as a longer term hold. So I'm willing to wait. Just because we recognize that there's inefficiencies in the market, that doesn't mean the market always sees it right away. And again, that's a higher risk when you're dealing with these small caps that have a low mNAV. But to me, I'm seeing value there when I combine it with some of these other data categories that I'm tracking. So I like the regular purchases, the large amounts relative to the size that they are, the people they're working with, that they have that fourth lever now, right? They can issue ATM shares, and so that would go right into buying Bitcoin right away and in a favorable market condition to do so. So I do own all three of EMPD, Saquon's, and Semler. And I think if you were to think this through and play this out to when Bitcoin goes up again in the future, and for all of us in this space, that thesis hasn't changed. We just know we're in the summer doldrums. It's August right now, and things are as they should be. They move kind of slow, and the prices kind of leak down, and there's less liquidity and all that fun stuff. But September's coming, October right after that. So we expect a strong finish towards the end of the year, especially because we're in the year after the halving. This part of the cycle, this part of the liquidity is where the magic really happens and things take off. And when that happens, again, I'm already like in the end zone celebrating the touchdown. I think a lot of people are crying like, oh, we missed a block over here and we didn't do this. Yeah, forget that noise. Like, and if you can't, then it's not for you. And I, with all due respect, stay away from these. But if you can see the points being put on the board and you know the outcome, and you know when Bitcoin turns around what's going to happen, and these mNAVs are going to start to expand, right? So like, I'm not that interested in buying companies that already have the higher mNAV. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have the higher mNAV. I'm just saying that's less room. There's less value there for future returns, right? So other than like strategy and Meta Planet, I'm really trying to stick to these. I'm looking for value in these mNAVs that are around 1 or even less, because these are just saying, hey, you're getting Bitcoin for 80 cents on the dollar, and oh, by the way, you're getting their 5G tech day business. They make chips, so like you're getting an established company as well with this, that's putting their money and their energy into the strongest asset possible, and that is Bitcoin. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer when I see this. Now I know that the sentiment is tough because we're looking at it for so long, like, oh, the mNAV's down again and the price is down. Honestly, I get excited. I buy more. I'm buying more down at this level because I really do think my future self is going to thank me for having the vision of seeing of where this was all going. Again, I'm looking for companies that have the levers. And what are levers? That's simply the ways in which the company can buy more Bitcoin. How can you add Bitcoin to your balance sheet? The more that you have, the more interested I am in buying your stock, because you have different levers you can pull under different economic conditions, and that's so important, right? And they all work differently. So like while Saquon's maybe looking to do a convertible bond again, maybe strategy saying, well, we're kind of going to phase that out and we're going to do more on the side of preferred stock. Again, they all have a different purpose and they're not all operating at the same speed and in the same part on their journey. So it's important to understand all aspects and all sides of this. Otherwise, you can get lost in the sauce very easily on these companies. So again, I look at that. I look at the dashboard. And this is simply, do they have a website that you can go to, right? And this is what a dashboard looks like. If I come in here, I come to BTC Treasuries that I've got saved, and I were to click on, I have strategy listed at the top because theirs is the best. And we come over here, we're going to be able to see everything in real time. You can see every single purchase they've made. You can see all the shares outstanding. You can see the price of each one of their preferreds, all in real time. It's like there's nobody that's more transparent, and that's what ultimately is going to make this be such a great success. Great success. I like. Why? Because transparency. I mean, it's everything you want to know is out there on their site, every last detail. So having this is huge. It allows us to take advantage of the data. And if you're not, I'd encourage you to come and spend time checking out my worksheet here, because I put a lot of time and effort into taking what these companies have and then building it out and then actually adding some stuff that is not even really being tracked by others, but I hear it in the sentiment of the calls and the chatter on X. So I've got some of the, I would say, more subjective categories over here to the right. And maybe they're for you, maybe they're not, but it's important to know, do they have a key man on X that's putting out the message? You know, some of them don't, right? So that's something to look for. How many followers does the company have? You know, the excitement in the community matters. We see these things take off when the community rallies around it, right? And so that cuts both ways. You know, just operational risk, regulatory risk. I look at these things as well to a certain extent. Added short interest as well. The options market, again, another reason I hold strategies. I love to be able to sell covered calls against it. That's a way to supplement my income each month. So for all those reasons, you can see why I have strategy as a buy. So I'm going to go to the recommendation column here real quick. And I'm going to show you where we stand with buys right now. So as of today, what is this? This is August 26th, 2025. I know there's a lot of hate still out there on strategy. I still have them as a buy. They will weather this storm. They've already been through a bear market, right? Like, and none of these other companies have. They have everything going for them. And maybe some slip-ups in how they announce things here and there. But overall, you look at like the whole picture, it's still a buy for me. I already mentioned Embry and Semler as being buys. Riot is a miner, and I'm going to do another video on the AI and HPC mining, but I just want to give you a sneak peek here. If we come over to this chart, Riot has 600 megawatts available, so that is enough for a hyperscaler potential. So shifting from Bitcoin mining into AI HPC, that high compute, like they could land an Amazon Web Services, a Microsoft, a Google, and they have the locations and prospects to do that. So someone like Riot, who's very competitive on the Bitcoin mining side of things and on the AI scaling side of things, I like that. And then you combine that with the fact that they have an extremely strong HODL right now. They are at, Riot is holding 19,239. So that's one of the largest Bitcoin Treasury balance sheets in the world. So again, putting all that together, AI, Bitcoin mining, infrastructure, large deals, ability to move fast, and ability to mine Bitcoin and hold it on the balance sheet, that's a buy for me. Okay. And then we have CleanSpark, which has been beaten down and held in check on its price for a long time. Same thing. If we look over here, CleanSpark, I mean, look at this, guys. CleanSpark, they got gigawatts, not megawatts. That's how much they have. 1,100 megawatts. That's enough to do it, to bring on any of the largest companies out there. And these companies can't come on fast enough, so they're relying on the Bitcoin miners that are pivoting to the AI side of things. By the way, CleanSpark made a recent change at the CEO level. They are showing signs of a pivot. They do have a small pilot with a regional tech company in place right now on the AI side. So we're going to be able to see that proven out, which I think is cool. Again, they got the power. They got the market cap. They've got the Bitcoin hold, right? The HODL. They have 12,703. So again, that puts them in the top 10 in the world, right? So I like them. Then you got BitDeer, which holds a little bit less, but BitDeer does the other things we were just talking about with the mining. One other thing about BitDeer, though, is that they actually do their own miners. They make their own machines, and that's really cool to see. And then BitDeer right now is in the process. There's been paperwork signed. Like, it hasn't been officially announced, but you have 2 large centers in Ohio, in Clarington and Massillon, which I believe is around 570 megawatts. And then you also have a deal with the electric company there in Ohio, AEP, for another 300 plus megawatts. So that would overnight make BitDeer a huge, one of the biggest in the space for AI and high compute. So I like what they're doing. I like the fact that they can control more of the supply chain. They make their own mining machines. They're about to release a new upgraded miner. It's this, they're moving from the Seal Miner A4 to the Seal Miner, or they're moving from the Seal Miner A2 to the Seal Miner A4. So for all those reasons, I like BitDeer as well. So I know a lot of people don't like the mining companies, and a lot of people like the mining companies and don't like the Bitcoin Treasury companies. Again, I'm looking for value no matter where it's at. Like, data needs to be used wherever it's at. A lot of people talk on subjects that they don't completely understand. And I myself am figuring this out as we go each and every week, because there is so much being thrown at us, and there's so many things you need to know, from investing, from infrastructure to just everything involved in it. So I love it, though, because it gives us a challenge to really figure this stuff out. And I feel like when I do identify some of these, it makes for some good buys. I already mentioned Saquon's. I like Saquon's. And then rounding out the buys is Tesla. I've been a Tesla shareholder since I've owned my first Tesla back in 2019. And when they made that run of 6x, it definitely was good for my portfolio. However, since then, they've been kind of in this 5-year waiting pattern where it's gotten started and then fell back. And take a look at their chart and you'll see what I mean. But I think that it's going to be moving up here. We're about at that point. So I like where Tesla's at. And I love that they have Bitcoin. They have over 10,000, and I hope they add more. But again, because this is Bitcoin and Tech Wealth Edge, I'm going to give you, that whole range of what I like. So those are the stocks I like. Let's do one more thing before we get out of here. Let's sort this again by mNAV. I have built a chart that will allow us to cleanly see it. Well, it's not showing. Well, my mistake. We'll come back and show that before. Anyway, that was a nice chart that I had that had it all built out. technical difficulties. I'll get that fixed. And hopefully by the time you see this video, you come in. I'll drop the link to this chart in the comment section in the description, so you can come check this out. You can also find it on my X profile page at Hodler Ranch. So yeah, thank you for joining, and again, just try to ignore the noise and really focus on the signal that's out there, because that's hard to do. If you can do that and you can find what actually matters in these numbers, you're going to find value and you're going to succeed. So hang in there. September's coming. October's coming. It's going to be great. Appreciate you. See you all next time.